And welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Hello, everyone. It's Fred Staub and Les Jackson, and we are with you for a fact-filled hour of audio information.
And audio.
And audio, yeah. There will be some audio for sure. And big week. We've got a lot of questions. You've got a lot of questions. Car makers in the U.S. are very worried about Chinese EVs taking over the market. That's what they're doing around the world. They're building so many of them, they don't know where to keep them, and they're really flooding the European market. Well, the government just added a 102% tariff to that on top of a 25% tariff that was there already. What will this mean for you, the consumer, and some of the things that it will affect might not even be cars?
Well, yeah, this will be an interesting discussion. I have my own opinions, as you do. But meanwhile, you might already be driving a Chinese manufactured car and not even know it.
That's right. That's right. You might be. And what if I told you you could drive a $13,000 electric vehicle that was well built and fully equipped? Well, that's kind of the things that they're competing against, the domestic manufacturers. We'll tell you about one company that bought one and tore it up and said, hey, this isn't built too badly.
Wow. And Mini's got a problem. Its new model is already sold out. So that's a problem.
Yeah. Mini Cooper, people really looking forward to the new one. So, hey, I guess it's a good problem to have unless you want to sell more of them and you can't make them. And car prices are dropping. We'll tell you why. That's great news, isn't it, Les Jackson?
It is, especially for some of us who are about to buy a car. So anyway, we're going to have some simple, low-cost tips for preventing your car from being stolen. The simplest, of course, is get a manual transmission.
Yeah, I was just in one of those this week, and I'm going to review it, and I thought this is the biggest anti-theft device you can get. They literally had to drag a driver out of retirement to bring it to me because, no, I don't think many people know how to drive it. But anyway, we know how to drive the automotive information to you, and we're going to do just that after the break when we come back on Cruise Control.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. We are going to we're not going to handle, but we're going to talk about the tariff situation on Chinese electric vehicles, the soon-to-be tariff charged, 102% tariff, that's significant.
Yeah.
That's real money.
Yeah, you buy a $15,000 car and it's over $15,000. That's the tariff.
Well,
right?
yeah, that would kind of make me start looking around. And obviously, this is designed to protect American workers and American suppliers. And, we all know what this is about. The question is, how's it going to play out? And I'm not terribly sure. By the way, it was 27%, which is enough. Frankly,
yeah,
that would kind of steer me away in the first place.
Well, let's set the table here. You're right, Les. There was a big tariff put on by the last administration on these things. And what has happened, there's been the big push for EVs. We've seen that roll back a bit because of the cost. We've seen manufacturers like Ford say, hey, I'm losing, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 per vehicle. Obviously, that's not sustainable, but there's a big push to get people into electric vehicles. And I think some of the U.S. manufacturers have taken the tack, well, let's make them high-end like the Hummer and all that, and it's over $100,000. But in the meanwhile, around the world, companies like BYD, Build Your Dreams, Chinese companies supported by the Chinese government, they don't have to make a profit. They can just build these things. And they're pumping them out, and they're taking market by market everywhere in Europe, South America, and that's what they're worried about. That's because we could never make a car that cheap.
No, you just can't. Not in a capitalistic system. But the other reason I believe that Americans buyers have kind of slowed down is that the overwhelming majority of buyers in this country live in tract houses and apartment buildings and condos. And charging EVs is, because I have been testing EVs for several years, it's a nuisance.
Yeah.
Unless you're just driving very small distances each week.
Yeah.
And I think that may not be the case in Europe and other places. I think people just have a slightly different lifestyle and they're fine with it. And I just don't know. I can't predict what this tariff is going to do, but I think we can safely predict it's not going to help things.
No, that's the thing. I think in this case, it's a good political play for Biden because you want to be seen as protecting jobs and protecting U.S. companies. I think that's like something that most people will get behind. But here's the thing. It's not going to affect the cars that are currently here. And there are a number of them. And this might be a little shocking to people that you could be driving a car made in China and not even know it. And one of these surprised me. We know, and we've talked about on Cruise Control, Buick. A large portion of their lineup is built in China and South Korea. Obviously, South Korea is not affected by this. But did you know that the Lincoln Navigator, a large SUV, they used to be built for U.S. consumption in Canada. Now they're all built in China. I didn't know that.
Absolutely went right past me. Typically the manufacturers don't send us an email saying, hey, guess what? We're building this in China.
Yeah.
They kind of just don't say anything. Therefore, what else is being built?
Well, Volvo, of course, that is owned.
We know that, okay,
by China, and the one vehicle that could be affected by this, the one brand, is Polestar, which is an electric vehicle, and it's built in China and shipped here. But they are getting ready to open up a plant, I believe, in the next couple of months in the U.S. So when you think of it, the scope of those vehicles, it's not going to allow, let's say, companies like BYD and others to bring in these vehicles. Although if they build those vehicles in Mexico, they could potentially come in here even with its tariff.
Or they build a plant here.
Or they build a plant here.
And assemble them.
Yeah.
Like every other manufacturer does.
Well, just so you know, Americans bought more than 104,000 Chinese-made cars in 2023 and nearly 28,000 in Q1 in 2024. So interesting factoid for you. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. When we come back, more tariff talk. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staub and Les Jackson talking about the tariffs that were put in against Chinese-built cars, 102% tariff. That ups the 25% that was already there. So one manufacturer affected, Polestar, because they build their cars in China and their EVs. But the problem is Chinese manufacturers have overcapacity. They don't have to make a profit. Yep. They can pump these things out. And they are really taking the market. Now, so far, companies like BYD, we use that because that's an example of a very successful one, and we'll show you something that they build here in a second. But um, they are here. They're building buses here. They're building fork trucks. They have batteries that they build here. If you go on their website, they show American workers. They're just not building cars. But in Mexico, they just released a hybrid pickup truck that looks like a clone of an F-150 Lightning. And, as we were saying during the break, Les, they're probably selling it for like 20 grand. But to
Probably so.
give you an example of what they brought out, they have a $13,000 car called the Seagull. It looks like a Bolt because a
It
lot of,
looks an awful lot like a Volt.
yeah, and $13,000, well-equipped vehicle. And what happened was a company bought one of these in the U.S. They brought them in, and they tear them down. They cut them up. I mean, that looks like the Bolt to me. They cut them up. The shorter range version costs under $10,000. And this company cut it up and looked at it and said, this is built pretty well. It's built pretty well. He said they build everything themselves, the dashboards, the electronics, and the batteries. And it is certainly something that is not bad. It does not meet U.S. safety standards, but it could be made to meet them. But how it's built, they said it was not junk. And before they took it apart, they said it drove well. It didn't rattle. It felt decent. This is called CareSoft Global, which is such a weird name for a company that does that type of thing. But how do you compete against this if you're a U.S. manufacturer or a European manufacturer, right?
Well, that's right. And if it runs well and it has any kind of predictable, decent reliability, then it's a real threat. You normally assume, well, okay, this thing will last 2 years and I'll be replacing everything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the case.
No, at least from this company that tore it down. So we'll ask the question to our listeners: Would you buy if you had something like a BYD or another Chinese manufacturer that you knew was Chinese, because you might be driving that Lincoln Nautilus and not knowing it was built in China? But let's say this company came in and said, "Hey, I'll sell you an electric car with, let's say, a 200-mile range for under $10,000, and it's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and air conditioning, and let's say it meets U.S. By that time, let's say it meets U.S. safety standards. Would you buy it? Let us know. Let us know in the comments. Let us know on our YouTube page. Just drop a comment. Would you do that, or would you say, nope, I have to buy something like, let's say, a Bolt, which, as you know, something like that would go at least, what, 32,000, something like that?
Every bit of 30. So,
and you get some money off for your taxes and that, but I don't know. It's a big dilemma. So it's something we'll be talking about a lot.
Yeah. Would you buy it?
I don't know. I don't buy new vehicles often, so I don't. It would be fun to drive. I would try driving it.
Yeah, if I don't have the need for something like this, but if I did have the need, I think I'd buy it just to try it out, see how long it lasts, and and not take trips in it.
No.
But it would be, it's a limited use, let's put it that way, vehicle.
Well, think about this, Les. You pay more for like a side-by-side, to drive around a farm or whatever. That's basically a golf cart. You probably pay more for a golf cart here, I would say.
Yeah, for a decent one, sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, if you're
I
commuting to
think,
the train station or something,
yeah, I think some Vespas are up to $10,000.
yeah, this would be better than a Vespa on a rainy day, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I'd like to know what our listeners think. Would they do it, or would they say, "Hey, I don't want to. I don't want to get involved with that at all." But there you have it, and probably a top of the line model would probably be well under $15,000. So
I would think.
yeah, globally, you just can't compete with that. Even in Europe,
No.
and so unless you could completely automate the process of building cars, I just don't see how you could do that. I'd worry about what's being put into it. You know, what chemicals are leaching out of it.
Of course. Where
Uh,
can you get it fixed?
can you get it fixed? Do they even bother fixing it?
Good point.
Yeah, or do you
Um,
just
the
the
scary
battery needs to be recharged? You just get rid of it and get another one.
that's, that's it. What scares me, honestly, is that we're in the middle. We're not in the middle of a fighting war, but we're in the middle of an economic war.
Yeah,
And we learned during World War II and afterwards that wars, whatever the wars are, they're not won by people fighting. They're won by factories.
right.
Whoever can produce the most wins, and that's what scares me.
Well, I've thought about that. I mean, let's say you talk about what happens with Taiwan and all. Let's say it just ramps up and trade war and whatever. All they have to
Yeah,
say is, "We're not sending you anything."
yeah, yeah.
Amazon closes. That's it.
Well, Walmart would close.
Walmart and Amazon gone, and where would you get that stuff that you need? And another outcome on this too, Les, as you brought up, which is good. It could increase the price of solar cells because
Yep.
there many of those are made in China. Medical equipment, things like syringes are made in China, and
Yeah,
gloves for surgery are made in China. And a lot of these things, a trade war, it's like, well, great, you're going to put 102% tariff on that. We'll do it on something else that you really wanted, right?
absolutely. And that's where they have the power. Um, and ideally, we could have the world could work this out across the board. Globalization only works when everybody's global.
Yeah, it's it. I just could see this going poorly because you think about
And
it. You're raising a tariff on something that's not here yet, so it doesn't come here. But they can raise tariffs on things that you need that we do use.
yeah, so
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 it's
we
like,
built
you see what I mean? Like, yeah, we'll
we
raise a
yeah,
tariff on solar powered airplanes that no one uses here, but they'll raise a
right.
tariff on syringes and gloves.
To go back to the war, is this we seem to have built the Maginot Line of economics, and the Maginot Line was built all across France and the Netherlands, and of course, then the Germans just went around it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah,
Well, hey, we're going to take a break. We will be back. We'll tell you about Minnie's big problem. Too many people want to buy their vehicle. I guess that's a problem to have. So when we come back on Cruise Control, Fred Staub and Les Jackson, we will be right back.
Cruise Control.
welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Well, shifting from China to England,
Yes.
Mini has introduced a new model, and the problem is you can't find one because they're already sold out.
Yeah. For
And
months.
for yeah, and while this is a great problem for the order books, it's a big problem for for companies that want to sell this, and they're dealing with impatient buyers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true because people don't have patience. They want it when they want it, and they want it now. And if you say, well, it's sold out for 4 months so far, convertible is not out yet, but it will be later in this year. No Aceman, by the way. Remember we talked about the Aceman vehicle?
Right.
That's not coming. That's the EV Mini, a different EV Mini than what we get. That is not coming to the U.S. Currently, that is produced in China. So that is the reason it. Here you go with another offset of the tariff.
There you go.
So that's not coming there, primarily because it's built in China.
Have you been near a Mini lot dealership recently?
I have not. I don't have any near me.
I have one just on my way to Home Depot. And I've stopped in a couple of the sticker prices on these things really are frightening. I mean, you just don't expect them to be that high.
Yeah. Well, it is part of BMW.
That's right. But you look at that, we're looking at a picture of one now, but you look at any Mini new and you say, that's pretty cute. I'd be willing to spend 30,000 or a little bit more on it.
Mm-hmm.
But price is 45.
Wow. That is serious numbers.
I mean, it's big bucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, though, it doesn't stop people.
Well, no.
And the fact that if you go in there and you say, I want one, they're like, well, we're sold out, but we can get you this one. Guess what's going to happen? It's your lucky day.
Oh, yeah, it's your lucky day. There's
our lucky day, too.
Slight tariff on it.
Yeah, a dealer tariff.
A dealer tariff.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, it's a cool-looking car. It's, completely redesigned for this year. Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably wait because I wouldn't want to spend over that. But
even if you wait, it's just an expensive car.
It's an expensive car. Yes, it is. And it's really what you want. Now, but Les Jackson, good news for our listeners, because we always feel that our listeners are maybe looking for a new vehicle. Maybe they want to hear about a review for a vehicle we've had. But here is good news. New car prices are down as of April 2024. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Slow sales, right, because of pricing. People that get put off by the big prices. Growing inventory because supply chain, something we have not said those two words in a while, but supply chain is better, and there's great growing inventory everywhere. There's plenty of vehicles, unless you want to buy a Mini, which then they're not.
Unless it's what I want to buy.
then it's not available, unobtainium. Yeah,
that's right.
And EV prices. I mean, they're dumping these EVs, cutting prices. The Lightning. The Ford Mach-E, of course, Tesla dumping prices, cutting them. So monthly payments are remaining high, but the overall price of the vehicle has gone down pretty significantly. And in this article, they use the example of a Ford F-150 Lightning. And it's now averaging 67,122 in April, and that is down 24% from April 2023. The Mercedes-Benz SL class dropped by about 19.6%, and the Ford Mustang Mach-E list price tumbled by 18.8%.
It's pretty significant. And the question is, can you go to the dealership who of course will initially say, "Oh, they're selling like hotcakes. They're
Can't keep them
we
on the
we
floor.
we can't keep them on the floor. We're charging MSRP, and uh, really, well, that's not what the statistics say. But
Yeah. Well, they'll say, yeah, the price is less, but all these peel and stick accessories that you need to buy that we placed
yeah,
on every car, that adds, amazingly, that adds 18% back.
yeah, it's an incredible coincidence. And
The seat spray, the peel and stick
yeah.
stuff, the
Oh well,
flashing tail
the
lights.
newest one is graphene uh, coating on all of the interior surfaces that will keep the interior surfaces from degrading. Period.
Ever.
Yeah.
They'll be here 100,000 years from now.
To which I respond, isn't that interesting? Graphene is heavily affected by UV light
So
shining in the car's window.
I
24,
imagine
well,
I
12 hours a
imagine
day.
if you lease a car, they demand that you put all that crap on it,
Oh, I'll bet.
you
I'll
know,
bet.
and a lot of it's crap. Not all of it. I mean, there are some nice accessories from manufacturers, like bumper protectors and door sills. That's fine. It's if you don't need it, but there's a lot of other crap
Yeah.
that's sold that is
Well,
just
fabric
designed.
protection, paint protection.
Right. You can get all that
No,
stuff.
no.
you know, it's not bad, but it's $6 a can. That's what it's worth.
And you're paying $1,000 for the package.
Yeah.
And
So that's not
undercoating.
a undercoating.
They still sell undercoating, which, by
Yeah.
the way, voids the factory rust warranty. Uh,
Excellent.
Great.
Excellent. Excellent. Um, that's so. Yes, I try to avoid the peel and stick
Yeah.
dealer stuff, and it's just pure profit. And frankly, if you want to do ceramic coating of your paint or whatever, there's a lot of great products you can buy, and it's not hard to put it on your car. You can do it yourself, or go to some place that does that sort of thing, right?
Well, that's right. And, it is not going to protect anything for very long. Weather
No, it will wash
gets
off.
to everything. Yeah.
It washes off. So
Um, so just, clean the car yourself. Get various coatings that you can spray coatings and you can use. They're fine for a month.
yeah, yeah, that's it's a big profit for dealers. So
Huge.
hey, let's talk a little tech, shall we?
Good.
And and this is a good way to avoid buying a $1,000 security system from your dealer. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of people, what they're doing, thefts. They will pull up next to your car, out in front of your house, and they have a antenna where because the fob might be in a drawer near your door, or who knows, somewhere near. It sends out a very faint signal. They will pick that up with an antenna, amplify it, and then resend it to the car, and they can open your car doors this way and
Yeah.
potentially then start the engine, right? So interesting article from the Associated Press. They said now what they recommend doing is put your wireless fob in this little Faraday bag, and they make them. I went online. I thought, well, what do these things do, and do people like them? And one had 142,000 positive reviews, and it's like a little pouch to put your
Yeah.
your your um, fob in. That is a Faraday bag, basically. It stops any signals from going out. You test it by putting your key fob in one of these things. You put it in your pocket, and then you walk up to your car, and if the doors don't open,
They will not open.
yeah. So hey, for $9, that's not bad, is it?
If you don't want to spend the $9, take a little sheet of aluminum foil and wrap it around the fobs.
Yeah. And then the other thing they said is to basically get some kind of lock for the steering wheel. We're back to the club days. Remember
Yeah,
the club?
the old steering wheel lock. That's
Yeah.
tough unless they've got a bolt cutter. That's tough.
Or you cut apart the steering wheel, which will take you time. And
Yeah.
let's face it,
Well,
criminals
actually,
don't want to be there playing around.
or
Get
buy
a manual.
Tesla.
Or
Buy a Tesla because the steering wheel will fall off as you drive away.
All right. We will be right back on Cruise Control.
Cruise Control.
Welcome back to Cruise Control. We are going to travel to Germany.
Yay!
Well, virtually. Actually, we're going to talk about a German car, Porsche.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are interesting cars, I will say. They've never appealed to me visually, but driving them is it's a solid. It feels like it's all been carved out of a single piece of metal.
It's a billet car.
It really is a fine machine. But
Yes.
anyway, we're going to talk about a hybrid drivetrain.
What is that?
Drivetrain. And it's a performance hybrid naturally because it's a Porsche.
Yeah, I mean, think E-Ray, right? Corvette E-Ray.
Exactly.
It is for performance primarily, not really for saving fuel. But this is a big thing for Porsche, isn't it?
And 8.7 seconds faster than its predecessor on the Nürburgring, which, of course, by the way, when you're setting records on the Nürburgring, 8.7 seconds is a heck of a long time.
And this is due to the hybrid drivetrain. Now,
yeah.
It has done extensive testing in grueling conditions around the world. Of course, they show them testing it in deserts and things. And this is what car companies do. They try to break it. They try to make it difficult. But we don't know much more about this, do we?
Well, we don't. It's just it's being tested. I'm sure it'll be offered.
Yes.
And it's a 911.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, you talk. 911 is second only to Mustang in enduring and endearing nameplates.
Yes. Yes. And we're going to talk about the future of Mustang in a little bit, too, how it basically might become its own brand. That's what Jim Farley, the head of Ford, was saying. And there might be a Mustang sedan, 4 doors. They wouldn't do away with the 2-door one. That would be dumb. But
wow. I would find that rather appealing.
Yeah. I wonder why there was there ever a concept for a 4-door Mustang?
Not that I can even, nothing from the old magazines, but I know who we can ask.
Yes, we have a very good contact at Ford who is a historian, and I wonder why they wouldn't consider that. They kind of consider all different things, but then again, hey, it's always, hey, I don't want to cut into the other cars' volume by doing a 4-door Mustang where we gain some sales but kill another. Yeah.
Through the years, they had 4-door, lots of Ford sedans.
Yes. Yes.
Now they don't.
Now they don't. They don't have any. And neither does GM with the fact that there's no more Malibu. But we'll talk about that. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the Chevy Bolt. This is kind of following up on a story. There's finally been a settlement for Bolt owners. Remember, they had the LG batteries that caught fire. You couldn't charge the vehicle all the way up. You had to park it outside. Well, there's not going to be a real big settlement. Some of the newer vehicles got basically diagnostic software that would look if there was any anomalies in the charging of the vehicle, and if there were, it would let you know. Others got full batteries, so the people that got the full battery will get $1,400, and the people that are just getting the software, had the software installed, will get about $700. So these are not big settlements. You're not getting a free car. You're not getting a new Bolt when it comes out. It's not a lot of money, is it?
Well, it's not. I guess the question that, and I don't know the answer, but the question is, what does it do to the resale value?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know.
If it's been solved, you got a new battery, or you get the software that prevents the battery from reaching the point to catch fire.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, what happens then when the light goes on? Then do you get a new battery? But
I don't know.
What does it do to the resale value?
I don't know. And is there additional protection for these things as far as additional warranty, which is fairly common when you have something like this to say, we'll extend the warranty out.
Right.
I have a friend that had one of the first CVT transmissions, and it was so bad, he didn't have a problem with it, but it was so bad they extended the warranty out on the transmission to 10 years.
Wow.
Which, is fine. He didn't have a problem with it. So I don't know. But it was a recall of more than 100,000 Bolts between 2017 and 2022, including all 2017 to 2019 models and some newer vehicles. Most of the newer ones got the monitoring software, which can help diagnose abnormal battery activity, which I don't mind that software. That's the good thing to have.
Oh, I like something that's diagnosing my car while I'm using it.
Yeah. So, 80,000 will see checks of $700, and about 22,560 will receive the $1,400. So, as I say, not a lot of money, but I don't know if it's repaired. I mean, getting a new battery is pretty nice, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you're eventually going to have to replace that battery, and it's probably, I would think, $8,000 to $10,000.
And at that point, if it's 10 years down the line, the car is not worth doing that, is it?
Well, yeah. I mean, typically these batteries, just like hybrids, these batteries last 10, 11, 12 years. That's a long time.
Yeah. But wouldn't be worth putting $10,000 into a car that originally cost that $30,000, but now is not worth that much. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's certainly an interesting deal. But if you have one of these, be looking for probably an official legal letter that will tell you what you're getting. I don't think it's been completely approved yet. So
no, the judge has to approve it still.
Yeah. Interesting over at Dodge, Tim Kuniskis, who's been on our show, the head of Dodge, was with Chrysler and Stellantis and all the other names of the company for 32 years. Kind of the father of the Hellcat is retiring.
Yep.
So I guess he figured it's a good time. Christine Fuel will be the new Ram CEO. Right. And Matt McClure will take the helm at Dodge. So there you go. I remember Tim. He's always a very passionate speaker about the brand. I thought he was a great representative for the brand and took it through.
Very, very knowledgeable.
Yeah, exciting time to build these. The entry-level Hellcat was 707 horsepower, right. And then build cars like the Demon beyond that and some of the last call cars. So certainly a memorable time at that brand, and it will be interesting to see where the brand goes after that. So anyway, we hope you enjoyed this edition of Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Don't forget to check us out on all our social media platforms. YouTube, Twitter, and more. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road.
Bye.